Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
You brought us quite an interesting mix today. Yoga philosophy and this Japanese idea, danshari, decluttering.
That's right. Decluttering, tidying up. On the surface, maybe they seem worlds apart.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea is to explore how they might actually connect, how they could maybe help us feel a bit stronger, less swamped by everything.
Absolutely. And the sources you shared point to two key figures. First, there's Oki Masahiro,
The yoga master, right? Oki yoga founder.
the very one, a legendary figure. But his yoga wasn't just about, say, health benefits or stress relief. It was much, much deeper.
Deeper how?
Focused on life's meaning, on self-reliance. And it all stemmed from this core idea he had: life is God.
Life is God. Okay. And the other figure.
That would be Yamashita Hideko. She's the creator of the danshari theory.
And the connection is,
Mhm.
she was inspired by Oki yoga.
Directly. It's fascinating. She essentially took his philosophy, those underlying principles, and created a very practical method out of it, decluttering as a way to live more comfortably, more authentically.
Okay, so it's not just about getting rid of stuff. There's a philosophy behind it, rooted in yoga. And the book, Danshari, The Wisdom of Yoga, that's our main source here.
That's the key text linking them, yes. So our mission today really is to dig into these sources. We want to pull out those key insights.
To see how Oki's philosophy, especially that life is God idea,
Yeah.
actually forms the foundation for Danshari.
Exactly. And hopefully offer some practical wisdom for listeners, building that inner resilience, navigating modern life.
All right, let's dive in. Where do we start? Maybe with that feeling of being overwhelmed, the shaky mind in the information age.
That's a perfect starting point. One of the sources makes this really sharp observation about, well, now, our time, this constant flood of information.
Oh yeah, nonstop. News feeds, social media, emails.
Right. And while it feels like it should give us freedom, more choices, it can actually backfire. It can lead to indecisiveness, to feeling like we've lost our own sense of direction.
Because all that external information, the source says, carries its own values.
Right.
But they're always changing.
Precisely. Unstable values. They can't really be a reliable inner compass. What's in today is out tomorrow. What one expert says, another contradicts.
I know that feeling. It makes it hard to know what you really think or believe.
And when your own sense of self-reliance is weak, when you're constantly swayed by outside opinions, the sources suggest that leads to unease. Feeling suffocated almost, like your horizons are shrinking.
Because you're not trusting your own judgment.
Exactly. So the core need really is for a strong, dependable self, an inner core that isn't just blown about by every new trend or external pressure.
Okay, so how do we build that? This is where Oki yoga comes in with life is God.
Yes, that's the central pillar. And the source really stresses this isn't just, an abstract idea for contemplation. It has concrete implications.
For everything, like relationships, work, health.
All of it. Your whole attitude towards life. Let's take posture, for example. Correct posture.
Okay, I'm picturing standing up straight, shoulders back, military style.
Yeah. That's the common idea, maybe. But Oki, coming from Life is God, had a different take. For him, correct posture wasn't about looking a certain way, aesthetically.
Then what was it about?
It was about a state of harmony. Mind, body, spirit, all working together smoothly. A posture where you can breathe easily, move freely, where life flows.
Ah, okay, so it connects back to that life force. It's functional, not just formal.
Exactly. It shifts the focus inward to how you feel and function, aligned with that inherent life energy. And the source suggests that really getting this life is God idea, it changes things.
Oh, so?
It helps you cherish each moment, live more authentically, because you start prioritizing what's truly important, life itself.
And God here, we need to be clear.
Right.
It's not necessarily a personal being.
Correct. The sources are quite specific. It refers more to the fundamental power and nature of creation, the truth, the laws of the universe and nature.
So like a universal principle.
Yes. They even draw parallels to concepts in other traditions, Allah, Brahma, and Dharma. It's pointing to something fundamental.
Got it. So we have this core Oki philosophy. How does Danshari, the decluttering practice, actually plug into this?
Well, Yamashita Hideko, the founder, explicitly found the roots of danshari in Oki's teachings. Ideas like part is the whole and beginners should start with form.
Okay, part is the whole and start with form. Let's unpack those. How did they lead to decluttering?
There's a great example from the Oki Yoga Dojo, something called the sudden law training.
Sudden law. Sounds intense.
It was. Participants would be woken abruptly in the middle of the night, given almost no time to gather their things and evacuate.
Whoa, what was the point of that?
It forced them to see what was truly essential. In that moment of panic, you only grab what you absolutely need. It revealed just how little that actually is for most people.
I can see the connection. Dan Shari is about figuring out what's truly necessary in your everyday life, not just in an emergency.
Precisely. It cuts through the non-essential clutter, and this ties into another Oki emphasis. Change the mind, change the body.
How does that relate?
Oki had this quite unique approach with people who were sick or injured. He didn't coddle them. He expected them to adopt the mindset of a healthy person.
Really? Even if they were in pain?
Yes. There's an anecdote about a patient with rheumatism. Oki urged them to walk up a mountain.
Wow. That sounds tough. Maybe even harsh.
It might seem so, but the idea wasn't to ignore the pain. It was about activating their inherent living power, their inner strength, their life force.
Ah, the living power. And that connects to decisiveness.
Yes, the sources link that inner living power directly to our ability to be decisive. And Oki believed you could train this, strengthen it.
How? Not just by walking up mountains, surely.
No, through conscious, everyday choices, small things, what you choose to eat, who you spend time with, what books or articles you decide to read.
So every little decision is like a tiny workout for your decisiveness muscle.
That's a great way to put it. And Denshari becomes a very practical training ground for this. Going through your stuff, deciding what stays, what goes, it's constant decision-making practice.
You're forced to ask, do I really need this? Why am I holding on to it?
Exactly. It pushes you towards self-inquiry, listening to your own thoughts and feelings about your possessions, not just acting out of habit or obligation.
Which brings us to this issue of relying on external validation, right? Leaning on external pillars instead of our own judgment.
Yes, the sources talk about this tendency, how easily we can get swayed looking to parents, teachers, friends, media, anyone but ourselves for answers or approval.
And the danger is, if you always do that, you never develop your own sense of judgment.
It weakens your own decision-making ability, like constantly using GPS instead of learning the route yourself. Your internal map reading skills atrophy.
So what's the alternative?
The sources stress the importance of asking yourself first. Before you automatically seek outside advice, pause, turn inward, even for small things.
That simple pause can build self-reliance.
It's the starting point. Yamashita herself realized this, drawing on Oki's teaching. Your own body is the textbook.
Your own body is the textbook, meaning
Meaning, the answers you truly need are often found within your own experience. Think about it. Can someone else tell you if you really need the restroom?
no, of course not.
Or describe the exact taste of water to you? These are internal truths. Seeking external validation for them weakens our connection to our own inner knowing.
Okay, that makes sense. Now there's this other Oki saying, the path of life is a mix of the worldly and the refined. What's that about? Gozoku Sanben.
Yeah, Gozoku Sanben. It suggests life isn't just one thing or the other, it's a blend. The sources connect this to the traditional Indian 4 stages of life.
Vyoshramas, student, householder.
Right. Student, householder, forest dweller, wanderer. There's a natural flow. You engage with the world, build a life, householder. But there's also a pull towards inner growth, spirituality, forest dweller, wanderer.
So it's okay to have worldly desires, ambitions, but we also need that refined part, the inner life.
Exactly. It's about balance. The source suggests that sometimes people achieve material success but still feel dissatisfied. Why? Perhaps because the soul's need for altruism, for contributing something beyond the self, isn't being met.
Like that desire to help others we see after disasters.
Precisely. The responses to the Hanshin-Awaji or East Japan earthquakes are examples. That urge to help comes from a deep place, and fulfilling it strengthens us. There's also this idea of disguising oneself to learn within that worldly refined mix.
What does that mean? Playing different roles?
Kind of. Stepping outside your usual comfort zone, trying different experiences, maybe even roles you wouldn't normally take on. It expands your personality, your understanding.
So embracing the messy mix of life helps you grow. How does all this tie back to creating that unwavering mind?
Well, the sources argue that studying and, more importantly, practicing yoga philosophy naturally leads there. Why? Because yoga is described as an act of acquiring unwavering beliefs.
Through self-reflection, right? Not dogma.
Exactly. It's about discovering your own core truths through that inner work. Oki was apparently very focused on helping individuals find their own path, understand what was truly necessary for them.
You mentioned examples. The president, the doctor.
Yes. He wouldn't give generic advice. He'd tailor it to their specific life situation, their profession, their unique potential.
And he wasn't afraid to be direct about shortcomings.
Apparently not. But the intention wasn't just criticism, it was to push them, to help them see beyond their self-imposed limits and maximize their potential.
Challenging. It connects to that idea of facing pain, doesn't it?
Yes.
Seeing difficult people as gifts.
Yes. Viewing challenging interactions or people you dislike not just as annoyances, but as opportunities from the universe or God for your own growth. The Mother Teresa example is powerful, finding value and connection, even in extreme difficulty. Growth often comes from facing hardship, not avoiding it.
Speaking of hardship, what about acceptance? There's the teaching, life and death are destined.
A profound one. The source mentions a difficult story about someone suicidal in the dojo. It illustrates accepting those ultimate boundaries we can't control.
It's a sobering thought, but
Wow.
it doesn't mean giving up, right?
Not at all. While we accept the things beyond our control, like the ultimate fact of life and death, we absolutely should focus our energy on what we can influence mainly, maintaining our health and well-being within that reality.
Do your best with what you have and accept the rest. Don't get too attached to outcomes.
That's the essence of it. Acceptance without attachment.
Okay, let's loop back to those core Oki principles behind Danshari. Beginners should start with form, and part is the whole. How do they work together?
They're very interconnected. Part is the whole means just that a small piece reflects the entire system. Change one part and the whole thing is affected. Like one messy room often indicates a wider state of disorder.
Or cleaning that one room can kickstart a bigger change.
Exactly. And this leads directly to Danshari. The form, your physical environment, the state of your home, is seen as a direct reflection of the whole, your inner state, your subconscious.
So the clutter outside mirrors the clutter inside.
Often, yes. So the principle, beginners should start with form, makes sense. Working on the tangible, visible form, decluttering your space, is a practical way to start influencing the intangible, invisible whole, your subconscious mind, your emotions.
It's a way in, and it involves self-inquiry while you do it.
Crucially, as you handle objects, you ask, why this? What fear keeps me holding on? What desire does this represent? What values does it reflect? What relationships? It becomes a deep dialogue with yourself through your stuff.
Which connects to the process of gaining wisdom. Learn, experience, meditate. It's not just about tidying.
Right, tidying is the experience part. You need the learning, understanding the principles, and the meditation, the reflection to make it truly transformative. You need to process the experience.
And meditation here isn't just sitting cross-legged.
No, the source clarifies. It's also about actively recalling events, reflecting on them. Like if you get a stomachache, you think back, what did I eat? Why did it affect me this way? That's meditation in action.
Listening to the signals your body and feelings give you. Like anger signaling unmet expectations.
Exactly. Learn, experience, reflect. That cycle broadens your perspective, helps you apply knowledge more wisely.
This leads to getting a holistic view, right? Seeing the bigger picture.
Yes. Oki taught that grasping truth needs all three. Learning, experiencing, and that reflective overlooking, omokan, seeing how things connect.
Which is the essence of yoga, isn't it? To connect.
Precisely. Yoga philosophy helps you see the underlying unity. The source uses health concepts, immunity, natural healing, tendon power. They all point back to that core idea of life force.
Seeing the common thread.
Right.
And balance is key too. Yin and yang.
Absolutely. Tension and relaxation, activity and rest, day and night. Life is balance. The source also questions the constant drive for peak performance, suggesting maybe aiming for a sustainable average state is healthier than relentlessly chasing success.
That's countercultural in many ways. Okay, another powerful Oki teaching. Don't believe, don't doubt, just experience.
A core principle
Right?
about critical engagement.
Meaning, don't just accept things blindly or reject them outright.
Exactly. Verify things for yourself. The source distinguishes levels, mere information, understood knowledge, and then wisdom validated by your own experience. That's the goal.
How do we get there?
By using both classification thinking, being able to separate and define ideas, and unified thinking, seeing the connections and common ground, you need both analysis and synthesis.
The story about Oki and the training attendance numbers fits here, right? His seemingly inaccurate report.
Yes. It shows a broader perspective on objectivity. He wasn't just counting heads physically present, but considering the wider influence, the people participating indirectly in spirit or thought. It challenges a narrow view.
And embracing not understanding is okay.
More than okay. It's necessary. It's the starting point for genuine learning, rather than pretending you have all the answers.
This ties into self-trust, doesn't it? That correctly seeing things depends on trust, ultimately self-trust.
Fundamentally, if you just passively accept what media or others tell you, you bypass that crucial self-reflection. You're not building your own foundation of trust.
All questions lead back to the self. And the tool suggested is three-part classification thinking.
Yes, moving beyond simple yes, no, good, bad. Like instead of just understand or don't understand, adding partially understand, it allows for nuance.
Like those vermicelli colored opinions in Japanese culture, multifaceted views.
Exactly. Not black and white. And there's a practical exercise. Classify your belongings in your wallet, closet, desk, using 3 categories based on different criteria, like necessary, maybe unnecessary, or like neutral dislike.
The point isn't just sorting stuff, but shifting your perspective about the stuff and ultimately about yourself.
Precisely. It moves the focus from the object to your relationship with it.
Okay, next set of teachings. Don't bind yourself, don't be attached, don't demand. Liberation seems to be the theme here.
Absolutely.
These are about freeing yourself from rigid thinking patterns.
Patterns shaped by our environment, culture, common sense.
All of those, things we often take for granted. The idea of an overseas meditation method is interesting here.
Traveling to experience different norms.
Exactly. Going somewhere with different customs can suddenly reveal your own unconscious biases and limitations. It shakes up your perspective.
Helps you question your own good-bad judgments. Yes. Encourages you to look for more universal truths beyond your conditioning. Like seeing Bhutan measure gross national happiness, it makes you reflect on your own society's values.
And it pushes you to ask what your soul truly wants, beyond just external rewards.
Deep down, yes. What truly aligns with your innermost being.
So Dhanchari and yoga, they have the shared goal, releasing attachments, even if the methods differ.
Right. Both aim to clarify the subconscious. Yoga does it partly through the body. Physical practice reveals stored information, like tight shoulders signaling anger.
And the key is just facing your body with joy, not judgment.
Yes, just being present with what is, regardless of flexibility or anything else.
Even aversion, feeling dislike, can be useful.
Very useful. The source says dislike reveals your own hidden value systems. When you react negatively, it's often because something conflicts with your unconscious rules.
Like the noisy noodle eater example.
Yeah.
My reaction says more about my values than about them.
Potentially, yes. It's an internal conflict manifesting. Instead of just blaming the external trigger, you can use meditation or reflection to ask, why does this bother me so much? What value of mine is being challenged?
This must apply hugely in families. The source calls them rivals for comfortable space.
Yes. Clinging to our own views causes friction, especially at home. Yamashita's story about her mother is illuminating.
They both had unspoken expectations. A daughter must, a mother should.
Exactly, and those conflicting expectations created tension. The real Dhanchari insight was accepting that everyone lives by their own values. You can't force others into your framework.
It's about granting autonomy. The source even suggests difficult relationships might be tests, reflecting our own attachments.
Yes, tests our self-reliance.
Yeah.
It also stresses taking responsibility for relationship choices, like marriage, rather than blaming the other person. Conscious choice, conscious responsibility.
Which requires courage and connects to developing self-sovereignty. And that teaching, don't demand.
Crucial. Don't demand. Empathy is vital, but phrases like, I'm only saying this for your own good, can sometimes be a way of trying to make others fit our expectations.
We need the courage to let others make their own decisions, especially about their stuff. Interfering hinders their self-reliance.
Absolutely. Yamashita learned this with her son, too. Constantly seeking external validation or having decisions made for you stunts that growth. The Dhanchari workshops apparently show a lot of resentment towards parents who interfered too much with decisions about belongings.
Because the objects become symbols of those imposed values.
Often, yes. So, taking ownership, deciding for yourself what to keep, what to discard, clarifies your own subconscious and reduces that resentment.
What if you lack the courage to even start, to take that first step?
A very common feeling. The sources say this inability to act often comes from being too fixated on the results, usually the fear of failure.
So Oki's advice was,
Immerse yourself in the effort. Don't be bound by worldly ideas of success or failure. Focus on the process. Learn from every experience. And that's saying, do your best and leave the rest to heaven.
Maki. Jin Renshi Teng Tianming. Focus on your part, accept the outcome.
Precisely. The problem isn't failure itself, it's being attached to avoiding failure or achieving a specific result. Give it your all, then let go.
The jumping exercise in the dojo sounds like a literal way to confront that fear.
A very direct way. Breaking through mental barriers, unifying mind and spirit and action. Oki's strengthening method was about smashing those self-imposed limits we create.
Because yoga's goal isn't just flexibility on the mat, it's mental flexibility in life. Being able to maximize your abilities anytime, anywhere.
Exactly. And the determination it builds isn't tense willpower. It's a focused energy centered in the lower abdomen, allowing both intense effort and deep relaxation. Dynamic balance.
So putting thoughts into action means overcoming that fear of negative outcomes.
Yes. If you only focus on what might go wrong, you'll never start. Act from your genuine desires, your needs, not from fear of failure or judgment.
Yamashita admitted she lacked courage sometimes, so she understands that feeling of being stuck.
Deeply. Which reinforces the power of do your best, give it your actual best. Inaction avoids failure now, but guarantees stagnation later.
Let's talk about self-responsibility.
Yep.
Zizuzuzisho, you mentioned an empowering view.
Yes. Yamashita's own story is key. She had a physical breakdown living with her in-laws and mother, trying to be everything to everyone.
The pressure made her sick.
Essentially. But her breakthrough was realizing she was ultimately responsible for creating that situation and her reaction to it. That realization gave her the power to change it. By giving herself permission to feel and express her real feelings. Getting angry, in her words, meant letting go of the impossible good daughter-in-law, good daughter persona.
So owning your part empowers you to find solutions. It's not about blame, but agency.
Exactly. And this courage extends to communication, both giving and receiving.
Like setting boundaries, even kindly. The mother-in-law example.
Yes. Being direct about not being able to listen to sleep problems all night. Avoiding difficult conversations rarely solves anything. And expressing love also takes courage to give freely and sometimes the courage to receive love without pride getting in the way.
What about self-control? The sources mention the courage to restrain oneself. Kiki no yuki. Is that just willpower?
It's more nuanced. It's not suppression, which just builds pressure. Think steering a car, guiding impulses rather than just slamming the brakes. Healthy self-control.
And it comes from more than just reason. You mentioned Buddha nature.
Yes, Busho. The idea is that true, balanced control over emotions and desires comes from a deeper place than rational thought alone, a place connected to that tanden energy, a state of inner freedom and peace, not just mental exertion. Reason can be biased. This deeper awareness is clearer.
Okay, and releasing karmic hindrances.
Yes.
Those stubborn patterns.
Go, karma, habits. That feeling of, I know this is bad, but I can't stop. Yoga offers tools to break free.
Like challenging yourself. New experiences, breaking old habits like smoking or fasting.
Yes. Consciously disrupting the pattern. The first two limbs of Ashtanga Yoga Yama, restraints, and Niyama, observances, offer a daily life framework. For weight loss, Yama might be reducing certain foods, Niyama adding exercise.
The smoking cessation story was interesting. It wasn't just willpower, but also finding replacements for why you smoked and lifestyle changes.
Crucial, understanding the function the habit served, stress relief, social connection, and finding healthier ways to meet those needs.
Now this idea, excretion ability is life force and breathing ability. Sounds fundamental.
Very holistic, viewing everything as energy flow. The key things to look at are input-output flexibility, balance, and fluidity.
So if you don't output energy through action, expression, release, you get stuck. Like constipation, but mentally or energetically.
That's the analogy, yes, stagnation. And this ability to release, to excrete, is tied to life force and breath. Blocked energy might even relate to things like depression.
And balance is key everywhere. Mind, body, relationships, organs. Like strengthening the core helps the upper body.
Exactly, interconnectedness. And fluidity means constant change, metabolism. Illness can be seen as blocked fluidity. Old practices like massage or warming aim to restore that flow.
So courage, then, is also about openness, seeing ourselves clearly.
Yes, accepting our weaknesses, not just seeing ourselves as the victim or the hero, the courage to be authentic, warts and all.
And the courage to change is actually healing.
The source suggests illness can sometimes arise from not having the courage to change patterns causing harm, Life is change. Embracing that, adapting internally and externally, is key to well-being.
When facing problems, we should re-examine the premise. Ask if it's about excess or deficiency.
A great diagnostic question. Is the problem too much of something, information, stuff, demands, or not enough? Energy support expression. Many modern issues seem rooted in excess.
Even depression could be from lack or suppressed energy.
That's the suggestion. And again, the need for flow, input, and output, like breathing, is essential.
And truly learning from experience means going deeper than just reacting, challenging those ingrained habits.
Yes. Moving beyond, I know it's wrong, but I can't help it. Sometimes you need a real shakeup, something new, to break through subconscious patterns.
Let's revisit don't believe, don't doubt, just experience in the context of learning.
Okay, 2 Oki yoga practice principles were mentioned. Don't force, don't waste, continue for the physical practice, shuchu, and don't believe, don't doubt, just experience for the philosophy, titsagaku.
Experience is king.
For true understanding, yes. And if you can't experience something directly, art or literature can offer simulated experiences. Oki also talked about direct participation, Jiki-san, with wisdom figures like Buddha.
Not just reading about them, but having a moment of deep personal realization.
Exactly, a flash of insight born from your own accumulated experience. And Oki's view on authority was life itself. Truth is God, not hierarchy or status.
Like Buddha challenging the Brahmanic authority on animal sacrifice,
Yeah,
based on the principle of life's sanctity.
precisely. Authority based on truth and experience, not birthright or tradition alone.
How does modern life impact our ability to learn from experience in this deep way? Do conveniences dull our senses?
The source suggests they can. We lose sensitivity to nature's signals, our body's voice, reaching for the thermostat instead of feeling the cold and letting the body adapt. Living numbly is dangerous.
So Oki advised being close to nature but also respecting civilization. Adaptability is key.
Yes, yoga strengthens that adaptability, that self-reliance, by connecting mind, body, life force, consciousness.
And Oki added to the traditional 8 limbs.
Added buddhi, awakening, and purasado, joy of dharma, joyful living, integrating divine, personal, and social joy. True adaptation isn't passive conformity, it's active self-improvement. Knowledge needs application.
Why does an experience always lead to wisdom? Overprotective parenting was mentioned.
Yes, depriving kids of experiences, even failures, can hinder their learning and make them gullible later, often driven by parental ego not trusting the child. That for your own good line again.
Let's touch on emotions again, viewing them without judgment.
Right. Seeing depression as possibly energy deficiency or suppressed energy like anger. Reason and emotion are seen as equals, balanced by Buddha nature.
Which brings freedom from attachment, equanimity, guided by don't harm life.
Yes, that universal ethic. I don't want to be killed, so I don't kill others. Maybe those who disregard life lack the experiential chance to cultivate this. The point is to consciously guide emotions, joy, anger, sorrow, pleasure, without labeling, using meditation to understand and channel them.
And finally, the difference between fatigue and feeling tired.
Huge distinction. Oki's dietary vows were about listening to your body. Eat healthy, reject harmful, eliminate waste, guided by inner awareness, not parental pressure or fixed meal times if they don't fit your needs.
The trainee who thrived on smaller meals,
Oh.
or hachibu, 80% full.
Exactly. Less can be more. Fasting trainees running easily suggest overeating causes lethargy. Energy goes to digestion.
So true fatigue leads to deep sleep, but just feeling tired might disrupt it.
Yes. We need to discern the type of tiredness. Neurological. Imbalance from inactivity. Pleasant, full-body exertion fatigue. Address each appropriately. Imbalance often needs movement, even if you feel tired.
And nutrition isn't just analysis, it's holistic.
Oki thought so. Digestion, absorption vary hugely based on cooking, combinations, your condition. It's the whole process. Hunger, food quality, prep, chewing, digestion, absorption, excretion. Even information via sight hearing is nutrition.
Traditional wisdom about combinations, colors, mindful eating is important.
Very. And Oki challenged simple good food, bad food ideas. Meat doesn't automatically equal aggression, veggies peace. Context matters. Look at traditional Arctic diets.
So it comes back to listening to your body. Yamashita realizing she was overeating, feeling better with less.
Her personal proof. Optimal intake is individual, like fuel for different cars, not one-size-fits-all calories. Eating until tired might mean unspent energy, unlike true fatigue after full exertion. Understanding Danshari intellectually isn't enough. You have to live it.
Right. So as we wrap up this deep dive, exploring yoga and Dan Shari through Oki Masahiro's lens, the hope is listeners have found some practical tools.
Tools for building resilience, navigating the information chaos, making conscious choices, living more authentically, less overwhelmed.
We'd encourage everyone listening to maybe reflect on their own inner pillars. What do you rely on? How strong is your self-trust? How might these ideas apply in your life?
From clearing out a closet to examining thought patterns or emotional reactions, it's all connected.
And maybe the ultimate deep dive is that ongoing exploration of our own inner world, using self-awareness, acceptance, and courage to live in line with our values. That seems to be the shared message here, doesn't it?
Beautifully put. A journey that both yoga and Denshari invite us to take, definitely worth exploring further.